I am Hoarder Gamer, and this is Hoarder's Comic Flex. I hope you are doing well. I hope you're having a nice week, and we have an episode for you today. You probably thought I was going to say an amazing episode, an astounding episode. Um, I don't like to, build up people's hopes too much, but we do have an episode, and I think it's a good one. So, first off, this is going to blow everyone's mind. The comic book we're going to review today, okay? Laura Linney Wolverine. That's right. The star of Ozark and, let's see, Truman Show and Love Actually. Laura Linney, Laura Kinney. Laura Kinney Wolverine. So, nothing to do with that excellent actress, but, it's probably a really good comic. I mean, I've read it, I know, but, I need to keep suspense there, so I can't really say too much yet. But anyway, we're going to start with some video game news. Like usual, we do video game news, we toy around a bit, look at the very near future of comic books, and then we have a comic book review, and that's pretty much the episode. So, first up, a game I have been spending a lot of time with since Friday, early access, Path of Exile 2. First off, it is brutal. When I really like a game, I'm usually like, oh man, everyone has to try this, it's awesome, definitely check this out. I don't know that I can do that with Path of Exile 2. I think that anyone watching the stream has an idea of how challenging it is. And not just my stream, anyone who's streaming that game. It's very difficult. The loot is not the same as the original Path of Exile. It's like if you took elements of Dark Souls and put that into Path of Exile, specifically with the bosses. The bosses will punish you heavily. And even if you played the first Path of Exile, bosses had like checkpoints as well as like whatever health you whittled down that remained on your next attempt after you would die. No, totally different now. Basically, you have all your health and mana potions, but when you die, you start over again. So, I don't know how much people are going to love that. It makes it very difficult. I'm right now fighting the act boss of the first act. There's 3 acts in early access, plus a robust end game. We'll get to the end game in a moment. So first up, this boss, I have to fight him in like this castle, and he's brutal. I think I tried him 6 or 7 times last night. I couldn't defeat him. What I am going to do is try to get an amulet as well as rings to drop from enemies that would have cold resistance, because he's really big on cold attacks, and I have something that gives me like 20% cold resistance, but it's not enough. So I want to try that out. I've tried all sorts of different weapons. I got him down to basically the last hit, maybe 2 hits, and he killed me. That was rough. That was rough. Also, the battles are long. Boss battles in Diablo or something like that, Diablo 4, Diablo 3 even, they take a few minutes and they're over. These boss battles are 5 to 10 minutes. Some of them are a bit longer if they have like multiple life bars and like transformation moments and things like that, like some games will do. But yeah, it is a brutal game, but it's a beautiful looking game. It does have to be visually optimized a bit for PlayStation and Xbox, but my guess is that in early access that was not their first thought. You are able to maneuver and change the frame rate as well as the resolution and everything, so it does have some features like that. It still just doesn't feel completely optimized at this point. How you doing, Lumi? Good to see you. Yes, Lumi is correct. Check the shops. In the first Path of Exile, shops had usually crap. However, I did find out that in the first Path of Exile, around Act 4 or 5, one of the salespeople at the shops had just about every skill gem. And then at that point, you could trade. You couldn't use gold. Now you can use gold. Well, beyond just skill gems, you're going to find some good loot, some rares, some good magic loot available in shops. So, like when you check out Clearfell Encampment, which is the city that's in, or village that's in the first act. I haven't seen any other villages. I've only been in the first act so far of Path of Exile 2. You might find some really good loot there. I was hoping to get some rings, but in the case of jewelry, you have to bet on it. And right now, I only have like 7,000 gold, and to bet was 3,000 or 4,000. So I didn't want to take half the gold I had for 25 hours of playing the game. Actually, no, it's about 20 hours, I think. I'm sorry. And then just be like, oh, I'll risk half of that and hope to get a good ring. What I'll be doing is the last like 3 maps or areas, I'll be repeating those to get better loot, experience to level up a little bit, because that'll help too. So there is grinding involved in this game. And in a lot of RPGs there is, but I think it'll be a little bit surprising to people that have played just the first Path of Exile, or just like Diablo 3 and Diablo 4. Basically, it's like take Diablo 2, or Diablo 2 Resurrected, that's the only one I've played, I'll be fully honest, I've not played the actual initial PC version. Take Diablo Resurrected 2, or Diablo, oh my god, take Diablo 2 Resurrected, mix that with elements of Dark Souls, and you basically have what is Path of Exile 2. Now, they are making changes. One of the big issues, and I need to bring it up, is dodge roll. It was ridiculous. I don't know when the patch is coming, hopefully before holiday break. But they're going to have it where you can, if there's the slightest bit of opening between enemies, you'll be able to escape with a dodge roll. Right now, that's not the case. And like enemies, like weak enemies, will push you back and like surround you, and it's just insane. I will say though, that one area called the Hunting Grounds, that area seems overtuned. There are points where there'll be like 10 or 15 enemies on you in like seconds, and that feels overtuned. Especially because now I have done Ogum Village, I have done Freythorn, which is like the Ewok village, you know, suspended in trees type of thing, and I've done the Ramparts to Ogum Manor. I've done all of those, and while there are a number of enemies, nothing feels like the rush of enemies you get in the Hunting Grounds. So I will say that does feel overtuned right now. Let's see, what else can I say? I'm doing a mercenary, and it's all based on different ammo types. So basically you have one action in order to load different ammo types. So I have like fragmentation, incendiary, ice, and grenades, like a grenade launcher. So you have those options to actually load that ammo in, and then a separate button is what fires off the weapon. So that's something to get used to. Your base bolt is physical damage, so that's something too to keep in mind. Whether maybe like elemental won't work too well against an enemy, go to your base bolt and put physical damage, put in some or actually upgrade some of your skill gems, which you're able to do. That currency I found relatively easily. So most of my skills are now level 5 and 6, going from level 1, you know, beyond that. So that's been really cool. And yeah, I like the game a lot. I do think I do miss how the checkpoints used to work in the first game, I gotta be honest. And it sounds like people are gonna have a massive pain point in endgame. Because when you run a map, apparently when you die, you not only don't get any of the loot or anything, you lose the map. Oh, I think the loot that you actually have picked up on your person you get. I don't think that's removed from you. But if there's like any on the ground or anything like that, you had to go pick it up and you're killed, it's gone. Like that instance doesn't exist anymore and the map is gone. So you have one shot. And some people are saying that's just too punitive, too brutal for an end game, especially for those starting end game. And that I fully agree with. Even Diablo 4 weans you into end game. Basically, there's now, the way it works is Torments 1 through 4 difficulty. Torment 1 and 2, Torment 1, when you've leveled up and have legendaries and a number of gems and everything to take care of resistances to different elements, level 1 Torment isn't bad at all. And level 2 is a little bit more difficult, more challenging, and you'll get some little better loot drops for it. Now, when you go to tier 3 and 4, it gets freaking brutal. But it doesn't do that immediately. It doesn't punch you in the head repeatedly when you attempt endgame. So, that is a little bit different. Heard when you die, you drop your gear on your dead body too, so you just not drop your gear on maps then. That I don't know. Is that... Wow, okay, that's crazy. Because dropping the maps is bad enough. Like... You're basically locked out of that area and you have to go around. Now the devs were being cagey. They said there's a way around that, but they didn't say what it was at a very cool 1.5-hour presentation that they did. So apparently there's a way around it, but we don't know what that is. Like if you're in endgame, maybe you came to it and you're like, oh, this is what has to be done. So like it doesn't completely lock you out of maps and the grid of maps that you're on trying to move through, because that would be terrible. That would be absolutely insane. I think they will. So one thing they've already announced is they're going to have, well, they already have checkpoints. These are cool. This is a cool feature. In Path of Exile 1, you just had waypoints. There are these circles on the ground, and when you approach them, they would glow, and you use those to teleport to different places. Teleport back to town, teleport to other waypoints. Well, Path of Exile 2 also has checkpoints. These are like these stone pillars that also light up like those circles do on the ground, and they basically say that you're right there, that location, like you're right there. Well, in an upcoming patch, you'll be able to teleport between checkpoints. So basically, not only will you be able to use the waypoint to teleport like to town or some other area, but on the map you're on, if you've found that checkpoint, then you're able to move to that. Keep in mind, though, every time you're in a new instance, you have to find those checkpoints again. This is still very helpful if you're looking for a boss and you don't want to go traipsing around the entire map, because some of these maps are freaking huge. The Agam Ramparts was a gigantic map. I was like, oh my god. It's very cool, don't get me wrong. There's some really neat enemies that show up that you haven't seen before when you get there. But my god, is that a huge map. So it'd be very nice to be like, oh, I explored the southern area of the map, but earlier I was in the northern area and there's a checkpoint there. Let me go back and check out that little corner I didn't see. Maybe there's a boss there. So you have bosses of the axe, like a main boss, and they are crazy. And I don't want to spoil for anybody, but yeah, that was the boss I had a lot of trouble with, and going to get ice resistance to fight them. But then you have a number of smaller bosses, and some of them are really cool and neat. One of them, I'll spoil a little something for you, called Candlemass. It was actually a mass of melted candles, and it became sentient with, like, I think, like, something called the Seed of Evil activated it or something, and you fight it in a church. And that was interesting. It was not a difficult fight. That was one of the only bosses I fought that I didn't think was difficult. However, I had pretty good fire resistance at the time. Not ice resistance, but fire. And so that was a fun fight. It looked cool, and it was a surprising boss. Are town portals in 2 also? Yes. So basically you have a waypoint in each town, so you can basically do that. Also, here's another cool quality of life feature Poe 2 has that Poe 1 didn't have. You do have to worry a little bit, just a little, about those scrolls that let you know what an item is, okay? They basically let you uncover what an item is, what the real features of that item are, okay? So you do collect those. However, you don't need teleportation scrolls anymore. You just push up, at least on the PlayStation, on the controller, on the, what do you call it, the directional, and you open up a portal, very similar to Diablo 4. And when you do that, that takes you to the nearest town. So that's cool. That I like. I like the idea to easily go back and forth to town in order to sell things, trade things. That's really cool. Also, it opens up like 2 or 3 boxes of your inventory where you have those scrolls if you're playing Path of Exile 1. Because once you get, I think it's 20 or 30, maybe 40, it fills up and starts doing another box. So here you don't have to worry about that. Plus, I won't say what it is, but someone shows up in town and they, for free, just like Deckard Cain did in Diablo, will tell you what the items are. So only if you're like chomping at the bit, you get an item and you want to know right away and you don't want to go back to town. Otherwise, you can have like 4 or 5 items, whatever it is, go to town, talk to this person, and he'll tell you what those items are. So that's pretty cool. I don't want to say what that is again, though, because it's a pretty crazy thing that is doing that. One thing about 2, watching people, is it's very anti-melee. Yes, I have heard it is incredibly anti-melee. Warriors are having a very difficult time with the game. Someone was able to get the information as to ascendancies. That's where you get into cross-class and things like that, and it's aspirational. Getting to your ascendancy is challenging, and some people are saying way too challenging. And I believe the smallest percentage of players that don't have it or can't get ascendancy seems to be the warrior class. Possibly monk as well. I'm sure they'll find a way to fix that. I mean, you can't just do that, especially when you have 6 more classes on the way. Not even including those cross classes I mentioned. 6 more actual character classes are coming to the game at launch or before launch. So, yeah, they're going to have to think about that. Otherwise, they're just making classes unplayable. And no game wants to do that. No game wants to have, especially multiple classes that no one wants to play. Right now, everyone is basically playing Mercenary or Witch. And I've heard at times Witch can be very powerful. So I was surprised by that. I wasn't sure what the real power would be. Oh, I agree. That it's like they had a lot of very good ideas, but then they made things more brutal. And it's like someone was talking about how there's a ruthless mode of Path of Exile that absolutely almost no one liked for the most part. But for whatever reason, that's what Path of Exile 2 is like currently. But I do think there's going to be a lot of pushback, and I think they're going to have to make a lot of changes. Keep in mind, they don't want just the hardcore Path of Exile people that love this ruthless mode, which is probably, I'm going to guess, 5 to 10% of the player base. They don't want just that, and they can't afford just that to play the game that cost, this one I want to say is $250 to $300 million. This was a AAA game, and at one point they mentioned the budget was at least over like 250 or something like that, or at 250. So like, yeah, you need to have a big player base. That's just how you survive. Also, like with microtransactions, cosmetics, you need people to buy those. Like, yes, there's the concept, and it's kind of like the meaning called the whale, the person that will buy every DLC and everything, and that person's existence in the game and in the game community allows everyone else to play the game, you know, maybe not paying a penny, you know, because it's technically a free-to-play game. But, like, you need more than... You need, like, even the casual purchasers, you know, you need those. You need, let's see. Watch one guy playing a witch just annihilate a boss like it was nothing. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Am I doing Comic Book of the Year award? Not yet. I would have to think of what that would be, and that would probably just be a small little segment of one of the episodes. Like, I wouldn't do a top 10 comics. That would be too difficult. Good to see you, Mike. Archie won Hoarder's Comic of the Year. Okay, so I talked a lot about Path of Exile 2. Okay? Next up, we're going to move on to another game, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And it is incredible. If you are an Indiana Jones fan, it is not just a nostalgia trip. Time, money, art, all of it came together to make an excellent Indiana Jones game with elements of Dishonored, and it's just phenomenal. It's really, really cool. And first person works because you feel like you're Indiana Jones. You feel like you're the one adventuring. They went so far, they created the entire opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. That's like your tutorial on how to do stuff. Raiders of the Lost Ark recreated, so far as to even have a young Alfred Molina show up. Because a lot of people don't know this, but yes, Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2, he is in Indiana Jones Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's incredible. It looks great. It plays great. Right now, I just left the Vatican and I'm in Giza, near the pyramids. And what's interesting in the Vatican is anytime you're facing off against enemies, right, you put your hat back on. You're Indiana Jones. You're no longer in disguise or anything like that. Your hat's on. It's action time. And then, like, when enemies are talking, it says fascist. Any enemy that's talking will say fascist. Okay? And because it's in Italy, it's the Vatican City, it's the black shirts, Mussolini's, stormtroopers. So you're not even at the actual, like, Nazis yet. You're actually at the black shirts. Fascists, but not the actual Nazis. Those come, and they do show up in Giza. So, but yeah, I mean, it's funny to think that there's going to be some people that are angry that we're punching and shooting fascists in this game. It's very telling. It's very telling as to what is going on with not just the country of the United States, but the world, when people have an issue with that. Like, oh, it's gone woke. They're calling those people fascists. Expect it. Expect a lot of people saying that terrible shit. Expect that. Expect terrible takes. Oh, man. Looking forward to Hoarder's turtle run of Indiana Jones. Well, it's funny and it's scary, Lumi. It's funny and scary at the same time. But the game is great. Tony Todd, I believe one of his final performances is in the game. And it looks like there's more depth and more interesting elements to that character than, we saw in the first trailer, which is really cool. And my God, they went so far as to recreate Indy's boss, Marcus Brody. Like, it is ridiculous. It is so good. It is so good. And there's side missions. And basically the way it works, at least in Vatican City, it's like a somewhat open world. It's contained. You're in the Vatican City, so it's basically like a few square blocks type of thing, concept, right? And, they didn't have the entirety of it, I'm guessing. But still, you're able to go around and do side missions. You're meeting people, getting into adventure. You're picking up pots and pans as weapons, brooms, the occasional sledgehammer. When it breaks, you give it a look for a moment, and then you, continue fighting. Just like in the Indiana Jones movie, so it pulls off the sense of humor. It is definitely going to be in my top 10. It's one of the best things I've played, and I can actually say that because it came out, not early access, that was Friday, but I started playing it on Game Pass, and it was Sunday night, actually. It was available Sunday night at like 6 p.m. or something. So I'm already, I want to say, like 12 hours in. And I have no idea when it's going to end. It's super cool though. It's super cool. But yeah, I highly recommend Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Also, Troy Baker does a great job at portraying a young Indiana Jones, a young Harrison Ford. It's very cool. It's very cool. And I'm interested to see where the story's going. This is one of the best Indiana Jones stories, too. You're in for a treat if you're a fan. It's so well done. It's so well done. Todd Howard, man, wow. He really came up with something really great here. He was, I believe, the executive producer on the game. It's made by Machine Games, the devs who made the new Wolfenstein games. So, I mean, as soon as I heard that, like in 2020, I think it was the announcement happened, I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. Stealth and combat, it's going to be perfect for Indiana Jones, and it is. It's even better than I thought it would be. It's hard to tear myself away from it. I play it off stream. I love it. And finally, everybody, Marvel Rivals was released actually last Friday, and or maybe it was Thursday. That one actually might have been Thursday, and I love it. I think it's very good. It is far better than I expected it to be. It is something, though, just by basis of how it is. You know, it's similar to Overwatch, that I'm only going to play like a couple times a week, but I do like it very much. And I think they have some very clever ideas. It launched with 33 playable characters. A lot of people are very upset, though, about being iron-fisted. What that means is that Iron Fist basically can move on the map as quickly as he wants, corner you, kill you, and then kill other members of your team before you can really do anything about it. He is insane. He is insane. They also overpowered Captain America. He can actually apparently deflect some ultimate attacks. Like, that's craziness. That is complete insanity. I don't know what they were thinking there. And Hela. Hela can be a hell of a difficult time to take down. I'll definitely say that. Hoarder's Top 10 Games of the Year Awards, December 31st. Be there or be square. A big giant banquet and everything. Not a good recommendation from you. No, the game is good. The game is good. Certain characters aren't balanced, but with 33 launching, I didn't expect them all to be. Now we just have to look forward and see how they're going to nerf certain things, how they're going to buff other things, you know, because that's the nature of these types of games. But the maps are great. And the newer maps, I think, are better than the older ones. There's all these, like, elements of them that move and surprise you, like the Hydra base. That's really neat. Clintar had some cool surprises I wasn't expecting. These are really neat bases. There's also the Intergalactic Republic of Wakanda, I believe it is. That's really cool. The new maps are kind of awesome. Triple X-rated game, definitely a lewd warning label on the game. Well, that's just me saying iron-fisted. Because, like, out of nowhere, you're just, like, dead. You're trying to deal with it. You're trying to avoid, but so fast, he can, like, get you and corner you. You can try to run, he's gonna get you. He's gonna get you. If I'm not itching to play it, it's not my style of game. However, I think that this specific game in that style is very good. So what I'll probably do is play it a lot on weekends with friends and stuff, because I had a really good time last weekend. So yeah, I'm guessing like once or twice a week I'll play it. So maybe I'll even come up with a specific day. If I didn't like the game, I wouldn't give it a day every week or more. But yeah, that's pretty much it, everybody. On the 13th, there's going to be new outfits, though, for Marvel Rivals. So keep an eye on that. Also, I don't know if that means if outfits you want right now will be cycled away. I'm not sure about that. So just something to keep in mind. I myself, I really like the Wolverine outfit. I will probably break down and get that. I'm a little disappointed because I think one of the animations is MVP only. I'm like never gonna get MVP. For one thing, I play support classes, and very rarely do I even see the support class get MVP. And then there's a chance I'll be fighting really difficult enemies, and I'll only be able to do like 3,000 healing or something, and I probably won't get MVP then. So I kind of wish I could use that animation for other things, but oh well. Okay, everybody, we are done with video game information and or news today. I'll just stop this or end this segment with the Game Awards is tomorrow, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. There's supposed to be huge announcements, including the gameplay trailer for Borderlands 4. That I'm very much looking forward to. There's rumored to be some big things. One of the craziest things I'm predicting is Diablo, a remake of the first game, a Diablo 1 remake. Because there's been hints and rumors of something coming that's like a remake from Blizzard. And some people are saying it's going to be Diablo. And how awesome would that be? A lot of people haven't played the first Diablo. We have Diablo 2 Resurrected, Diablo 3, Diablo 4. I think a lot of people would like to see how it all started that haven't. So, okay. Now it is time for us to toy around, everybody. And first up, I just have to say, buzz off. No, not you, not anyone watching. That's buzz off right there. That is a 12-inch buzz off from He-Man, Masters of the Universe, from Mondo. It's at a Mondo price of $265, but my God, look at that detail. I'm not even the biggest fan of Buzz Off as a character, but I cannot deny the insane amount of detail and like the paint job and everything else that is on this collector's figure. I think this looks really good. To me, this looks better than some of them that have already been in this 12-inch line. This seems like one of the best looking ones. Like, no, I'm just not kidding there, you know? I love that shield. I love the multiple heads. The insane amount of detail on the artwork on his body and everything like that. Even like the way it's jointed looks insect-like. I think that's really freaking cool. Okay, so next up we have a number of McFarlane toys, because we do not show enough of those here. Okay, but we have Orion, everybody. One of the new gods. Okay, and you might hear that term again later on tonight, who knows? But Orion of the new gods. So basically, to break it down, you had, I believe his name was it Allfather, I believe? You had Allfather and you had Darkseid. And basically, they swapped each other's kids and raised them. And it's a really screwed up story. And believe it or not, Fargo Season 4 used that as a plot point for their season. So, but that's Orion right there. I think it's a really good take on him. One thing people are a little upset about, it's a Target exclusive. Sometimes Target exclusives are done really well. They're not too difficult to get. You know, you show a little bit of due diligence, you should be able to hopefully get one. They're nowhere near as bad as Walmart exclusives. But people are still upset that it is an exclusive. But yeah, I do think it's odd too to have a, somewhat popular character like Orion be an exclusive, to be honest. But I do like it. I think it looks really good. I think the coloring is really good. And it looks like him. It's a good take on that character. Okay. And next up we have even more McFarlane. We have King Kong. Batman ain't got nothing on King Kong. Okay, so What you're seeing there is, I think, roughly a 10-inch or 12-inch King Kong action figure and a mini articulated Batman. So you get more than one Batman figure with this collection. So here's Kong and Batman, and here you go with full-size Batman and Kong. So, and then you get like two like heads, one that looks angry and one that's like, is this Batman? I don't know why you would say, is this Batman? But, it's gonna, he's not like angry, so he's probably thinking, But yeah, I think this looks really good. This is $69.99, and I think the detail is very good. I myself did not get into the King Kong Godzilla Justice League comic. I did not get into that, but if you did and you're a fan, I think this looks nice. Especially, I like the fact that you get mini Batman. You get like the 7-inch Batman, and you get mini Batman with it. So, I like that. And finally, everybody, we're going to go all the way to a galaxy far, far away. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Leia Bush and Luke Skywalker. You might remember Shadows of the Empire. There was like a Nintendo 64 game. There was like comic books and everything like that. A villain by the name of Prince Xizor. And yeah, this 2-pack right here, which is available for pre-order. Now, actually, I'm really surprised. Star Wars Black Series 6-inch figures, the pricing on them has been very reasonable recently. So this 2-pack is $44.99. On the average, you expect $25, if not $28 a piece for the 6-inch Black Series Star Wars figures. So I think the 2-pack at $44.99 is actually a good price, rather than being like what, $5, $8 more. I think that's pretty cool. I very much like that design on Luke Skywalker. I actually had the I believe it was a Kenner figure back many years ago. I had the Leia Bush as well too. So I could have sworn Leia was wearing a slightly different outfit, but I could be wrong. But yeah, I think this 2-pack is really nice, and there you go. And with that, everybody, we are done toying around for the week. Next up, we're going to look into the future of comic books, all the way to 1 week from today. Okay, and first up we have, let's see, how do I want to start this? TVA #1. From the writer of Loki Season 2 comes the TVA #1 comic from Marvel Comics. So it's all about characters that have universes that were destroyed and they're actually displaced from them, including Peggy Carter and Spider-Gwen and a number of other very interesting characters. So I think this will be really cool. I think Loki Season 2 was great. Truth be told, I've not seen the final episode yet. I keep forgetting it, and I need to watch it, but I've seen everything up to the final episode and thought it was great, as well as Season 1 being great. So, TVA #1, and look at that, you got Miss Minutes. I'm wondering if they're going to have an alternate cover with Miss Minutes on it. Oddly enough, Marvel.com makes it somewhat difficult to see some of the variant covers, and I don't know why that is, but so I'm going to guess there'll probably be a cool Miss Minutes cover, though, too. Okay, next up we have Wolverine #1. A demon teams up with Wolverine to create the Wolverine, written by Benjamin Percy, the writer of the current... actually, he was the writer of the Wolverine comic. I don't know if he's currently on it. But yeah, Wolverine #1, an ongoing series. So not just like a mini-series either. This is apparently ongoing. So you can go to hell with Wolverine if you pick up Wolverine #1. Absolute Batman number 3. This comic book has blown up. Like, Batman's always been a popular character, but Absolute Batman has had so many reprints, even a black and white noir version. It's insane. And issues 1 and 2 were great. So I expect issue 3 to be great as well. Yeah, I highly recommend it. There's kind of like a truce between Bruce and Alfred. And this is a very different take on Alfred Pennyworth than a lot of people are going to be used to. It does steep in his history depending on who is writing him. But yeah, that stuff's very cool. And Black Mask, he's a force to be reckoned with, and he has some new friends. So, Absolute Batman number 3. This is a variant cover by Gabriel Del Otto, and I think it's very good. I think he does incredible work. So, G.I. Joe number 2. Number 1 was awesome. It explained why Cobra has laser weapons. It may have ended up possibly leading to the death of the main member of G.I. Joe in the first freaking issue. And there's a lot of other awesome things going on, including Baroness being part of G.I. Joe. So, yeah, this is a very exciting book. It sells incredibly well. So if you're interested in it, either like order it at your local comic shop, or, you know, try to get there like Wednesday, you know, when the book comes out. So most stores are going to be Wednesday. Okay, some will be Tuesday. It all depends on the store. So it's usually because of staffing. It's Wednesdays for just about everything. But G.I. Joe number 2. And finally, we took a look at the Orion figure from from McFarlane Toys earlier tonight. New Gods number 1 from Ram Frickin' V. One of my favorite comic book writers. Did incredible work with Detective Comics, with Swamp Thing. He is just great. He also did an incredible run on Venom. He's now taking on the New Gods. Darkseid is dead. And when a god dies, a power vacuum is created. So Scott Free and Big Barda, also known as just, Barda, are out to try to keep things going and not have anything completely fall apart because, New Gods are fighting, basically. So New Gods is an ongoing series, and I think it's going to be awesome. It's going to be kind of this bizarre, mind-blowing book, too, because Ram V is a hell of a writer. So he is an incredible choice to have on this book. New Gods number 1. And with that, everybody, we are done with looking at the near future of comic books. Everything that's coming out up to 1 week from today. So that means we have our review of Laura Kinney. Again, not Laura Linney. I made that mistake earlier. It's not the very famous actress who was in Ozark and The Truman Show. Love Actually, which you might, want to watch around this time of year. It's a great holiday film. It's Laura Kinney Wolverine. And basically, after all the terrible things that happened, all the, torments of Krakoa and everything, she wants it where mutants can feel safe. And she is trying to help them out. And here we find out kind of like maybe even one at a time. So a scared mutant basically leaves a message behind talking about her brother, Ivan. So, and her name was Emery. Anyway, Laura, X-23, takes a look at this note and sees that Ivan is being held in Dubai. So she jets off to Dubai and she meets somebody who's running a sanctuary for mutants and is kind of like questioning that. But she ends up teaming up with them and storms a building in Dubai where a madam is basically using mutants against their will for the rich. So basically exploiting them. And this is actually apparently a known mutant, Cybele, who was on Krakoa and who Laura actually saw there. So you get a lot of cool action here. You get a lot of the, the driving force behind Laura and why she wants to save these mutants, and her indignation, her anger, almost hatred at Cybele and people that will exploit mutants. Because as part of X-23, she was exploited when they basically, worked on her like an experiment, similar to what Wolverine went through himself. So, also, it seems like the person that has the sanctuary for mutants, that maybe they're going to branch out to New York, so maybe she's going to show up in NYX possibly. You also get Kamala Khan in here, as well as I believe they called them the Stepford Cuckoos, Sophie, which was, as I recall, the one that wasn't cuckoo. But yeah, it's a very cool book. The artwork is great. A lot of cool action sequences. More violence than I was expecting. Actually, the kind of violence you would get in an actual like Wolverine comic. So that was pretty neat. Yeah, I think it's a good first step. And I'll just say this. Looking into another issue of this Distress for Mutants, Laura ends up in Hell's Kitchen. So things might get interesting in issue 2, perhaps. Okay, everybody. I want to thank you all very much for watching. Thank you. Whether you like the show or someone else that does, feel free to let them know about the show. Feel free to sub, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with. I stream, and in case you want to see more of me for whatever reason, twitch.tv/HoarderGamer. Right now I'm doing a lot of Path of Exile 2. As I mentioned, also doing Marvel Rivals, and that's really kind of my focus right now. I don't know of any other game I'll be doing anytime super soon. Maybe Smurfs for the holidays. We'll see. Also, you can catch me on Games on a Plane. We'll be taking off tomorrow at about, I want to say, 8 p.m. Central. Twitch.tv/Games on a Plane, or just GamesOnAPlane.com, whatever you prefer. And finally, we have Super Hour Podcast. We'll have a new episode of that also tomorrow. That'll be on YouTube around 6 p.m. Central, I think it's going to be, roughly. And that's going to be all about Marvel Rivals, and I talk a bit about Indiana Jones, a little bit about Path of Exile 2, but the big focus is Marvel Rivals, and kind of brainstorming with Hero Mentor about what a DC Marvel Rivals might be and what it would look like, what playable characters, what maps, what big bads would be in it. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.